Hello everyone and welcome to Cinderful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the Grey. Today's video we're going to talk getting started with Warhammer Age of Sigmar, and today we're taking a look at the Idoneth Deepkin, and in particular the Ionrach subfaction of the army. Now in this video we're going to go through, talk about everything that makes an Idoneth Deepkin army special, what the special rules are we get for it. We'll then take a look at some units we can use to start off our force with before looking at other units to expand upon after a first couple of initial purchases. Finally, at the end of the video, we'll give you a little sample army list for you to use as some inspiration for creating your own Idoneth Deepkin army using the Ionrach subfaction. So with all of that said, let's start talking. First of all, this subfaction is found inside Battletome Idoneth Deepkin. Something to consider when taking this is all your named character variations, so there's Volturnus, Lotan, and Elthrain and the Soul Raid are all Ionrach keyworded, so they all get all the abilities from the Ionrach. Now, what exactly do we get from that subfaction? First of all, we gain access to a different heroic action in addition to any others you could use for your heroes. You get to pick one friendly Ionrach Achillean unit, so this could be someone like Volturnus or an Achillean King or even an Achillean Throwmaster. Wholly within a 12 inch of this hero, you can use this heroic action so long as you've got another unit there. And until the end of the turn, this unit is affected by the Flood Tide or Ebb Tide ability from the Tides of Death table, in addition to any others that they are affected by. So this is Retreat and Charge and Run and Charge. They get in addition to any others. You can't stack, any of the big ones, but this is pretty cool. Being able to take all these abilities here and get some extra Run and Charge, Retreat and Charge makes for a really interesting army. And so, with that said, let's take a look at how to begin our force. And so, first of all, where to begin? Well, I really like Volturnus High King of the Deep. For me, he fits narratively in everything you should be doing with this subfaction. He is the main character for the Idoneth Deepkin and leads the Ionrach, who are the most predominant faction of the Idoneth Deepkin in the current lore. Now, Volturnus is going to give you 8 wounds on a 3-up save. He's got the Astra Solus as one of his melee weapons, 4 attacks, 3/3s, Rentu, damage D3, and then he's got his Deep Man Mounts attacks on top of that. He's a Warmaster as well, so in addition, he counts as your general and top of any other generals you might have in your army, which is pretty cool. Now he's got Celiath the High King's Shield, where each time this unit is affected by a spell or the abilities of an endless spell, you roll a dice on a 3+, ignore the effects. This is really good in a time where we're seeing more and more endless spells on the table. Just a 3-up ignore to any effects of magic or endless spells abilities is really nice. First among the Achilleans, allows you to add +1 to hit roll for melee weapons used by friendly Achillean units wholly within 12 inch of him. His Deep Mare Horn, and it's pretty standard sort of stuff compared to the normal Deep Mare. On a 2+, you do D3 mortal wounds whenever you make a charge. But his Supreme Lord of Tides ability is nice. Once per battle at the start of the combat phase, you can pick up to 3 friendly Idoneth Deepkin units that are affected by High Tide from the Tides of Death table. And are wholly within 12 inch of this unit. You add one to the attacks characteristic of melee weapons used by those units you picked until the end of the phase. So you can pick a bunch of units around him to get some extra attacks, which is really nice. Now, he is an Achillean King. He does have the keyword, so he does unlock for you Achillean Guard, or Morsar Guard and Ishlayan Guard as battle line, and I think the Morsar Guard really just go with what we're trying to do with this subfaction. This subfaction is all about getting stuck in. We can put in different waves of units, and so Morsar Guard are really nice. Their Volt Spears are only 2 attacks at 3s and 3s, no Ren damage 1, but they do, when they charge, go to Ren 2, damage 2 on the same turn. On top of that, once per battle, after this unit makes a charge, you can say they'll unleash their biovolactic energy, and they can roll a dice for each model in the unit, and on a 4+, they suffer 1 mortal wound. For each 6+, the enemy unit will suffer D3 mortal wounds instead of the 1. We also add 1 to the roll for the number of models if this unit is greater, the unit this unit is targeting is greater than the number of models in this unit, which most of the time will be something they outnumber. You can really make sure that's going to happen. And so, with that, I think you've got a solid core for your Idoneth Deepkin force here. Some really nice close combat eels, nice and fast. They're really going to pair well with the Ionrach Run and Charge and Retreat and Charge abilities from their Changing of the Tides with the heroic action. And where to next? Well, the other Achillean units are certainly where to look, and Ishlayan Guard are the other eel option we have available to us, commonly referred to as defensive eels, while Morsar are referred to as offensive eels. They have their Hell Sabers for 3 attacks at 3/3s, Ren 1, damage 1 in combat, and it never goes above that. However, they have the ability to ignore all modifiers, positive and negative, to their save rolls, and when they change their characteristic, meaning they are not modifying, they are changing the characteristic, so they will get this benefit to a 3+ rather than 4+ when they charge. Alongside them, we have the standard Achillean King. While Volturnus is the named character variation from this very same kit, the regular Achillean King has a lot of similar things. First of all, his Deep Mare Horn, same sort of thing, mortal wounds when he charges. He also adds one to the hit rolls for melee weapons for friendly Achillean units within 9 inches of himself. The Wave Rider rule is really cool. When you choose to take his bladed polearm, you get a range characteristic of -3 and damage 3 when it charges, though that is setting the damage at the current point in time. That's not always the best, but you could always go for the Greatsword instead with 5 attacks, 3 3s, Ren 1, damage 2 standard there instead. And we've got his Lord of the Tides ability, where you can select up to D3 friendly Idoneth Deepkin units wholly within 12 inch, and they are affected by the High Tide ability in addition to any other tides from the Tides of Death table once per battle. Now we move on talking about the Achillean Alapexes, the sharks of the army. Achillean Alapexes, I think their nice thing, first of all, is the Rotarius Net Launcher. This is a weapon, if it hits with its shooting attack, it'll stop your opponent being able to pile in, which is just really good when you've got small unit sizes like this army will have. You've also got the ability of the Bloodthirsty Predators, where add 1 to the attack if you're ever targeting something that's wounded. So if you get some shots off and charge in and actually manage to do some damage with shooting or have removed models from an enemy unit, you're going to get an extra attack for your troubles. Lastly, we have the Achillean Leviathan. This is the big turtle beast for the army, a giant carnivorous turtle, what's not to love. It's got a ton of different attacks coming out of it. Crushing Jaws, 2 attacks, 2s to hit, 2s to wound, Ren 2, damage 3, Massive Scythe Thins with 4 attacks and 2s and 3s, Ren 1 and damage 4. It also has the ability to do mortal wounds, 6 mortal wounds in fact if it ever rolls a Crushing Jaw hit of a 6, and its Void Drum adds +1 to the save rolls for friendly Idoneth Deepkin units with a wounds characteristic of 8 or less, so that's your kings and your eels and your sharks, wholly within 12 inch of it. On top of that, it does some nice mortal wounds if it ever carries out this Stomp monstrous rampage. And so here we have our sample army list. We're obviously in Ionrach, we're from Haish. No place for the weak means we're going to be trying to remove all our opponent's battle line units off the table, and the triumph we've gone for is actually Bloodthirsty. I think a rerollable charge here is really useful. A big reason I think that is because we can give ourselves run and charge, so being able to get a rerollable charge and being able to run and charge and set that charge to 6, getting some extra CP there, and getting an extra usage out of that, I think is really nice for the force. Now, Volturnus is in the army. He doesn't need to be our general because we've got another Achillean King who will be our general, and Volturnus will still, with his Warmaster ability, count as a general as well. We've gone for the Greatsword. I've got Unstoppable Fury on this model, and then we've got the Artifact Arcane Tome with Flaming Weapons for some nice increased standard 3 damage on that weapon. Mount, we've gone for the Swift Finned Impaler, which is going to just increase the amount of mortal wounds we can do with the horn there. Now, battle line wise, 2 units of Achillean Guard, 1 Morsar, 1 Ishlayan. I think this is probably the nicer combo. The Ishlayan are going to be your objective holders, the Morsar Guard are going to be your more damage dealers, and then we have the Emerald Life Swarm in the army as well to heal up our units as required. The battalion we've gone for is Bounty Hunters in this army, making sure we're getting some extra damage out of those Morsar and Ishlayan Guard there. And then 999 points, we're, 10 points under, so there's every chance we may get that triumph, though it's not going to be too regular. 39 wounds is light on wounds, without a doubt. 4 drops, this army is fast, probably comes in waves, and pun not intentional there, but this army should not be a nice hard-hitting one, especially when you start going up in points, you start getting more models on the table, you'll be able to increase these eels, increase the damage, and certainly get more out of this. If you've been playing with an eel-heavy army in Idoneth, let us know how you've been going and what you would do down in the comments below. That's the end of the video, everyone. Thank you all for watching. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Also, drop us a comment down below in the comments section and let us know what you enjoyed about the video and what you'd like to see more of on the channel. If you'd like to come chat more with me and other members of our little community here we have at Sinful Gaming, you can do so on our Discord server, which is linked in the video's description. Also linked in the video's description is our Patreon and YouTube members, where you can go to help support the channel and allow us to keep doing what we're doing. As a special thank you to our Patreons and YouTube members, we'd like to give them all a shout out. So thank you to our Patreons: Christian Weir, Soren, Greenskins Gaming, Kenny Lau, Outer Shot First, Andrew Bowen, Nathan Fee, The Rising Ape, Q Dynamic, Anthony B, JJ Austrian, Average Wargamer, Domir, Mark Harvey, James Cater, Derek, and Giapi390. And to our YouTube members: Green Roots Gaming, Kenton Young, Ronya, Lock Lorick, The Johnny84, David Ellsworth, Wolfric Nick, Broken Chef, Ariana Edwards, Revenar, Pink Nico Fire, Robin Mankiller, and Monty's Tabletop Terrain. And lastly, a special thanks to Lady Witchfox Art, who does all the amazing artwork you see on the channel. Thank you all for watching. Once again, stay safe, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the Grey. Ciao for now, everyone.